With us now is Florida Democratic Congressman Jared Moskowitz. He's on the Foreign Affairs and Oversight Committees. Congressman, you just heard me talking to Republican Congressman Max Miller about the hesitations he has over Ukraine funding. As you know, Republican Jim Jordan, who Congressman Miller supports for Speaker, has previously said he's against more Ukraine aid. He elaborated a bit more on that today. Take a listen.
I've been clear that there are two fundamental questions that need to be answered. What's the goal? Is the goal some negotiated peace? Is the goal some get them out of eastern Ukraine? Is the goal to get them, the Russians out of Crimea, which they took during the Obama administration, they've had for now 9 years? What is the goal? What is the objective? Second question, if you can tell us what the goal is, how's the money being spent?
Those seem like fair questions. Can you answer either of those questions in terms of what the Biden administration policy is?
No, thanks, Jake. Appreciate it. Look, no, I think those are fair questions. There's nothing wrong with asking for an accounting of how the money has been spent. You know, as far as what the goal is here, the goal is very simple, and the president has clearly articulated this. The goal is that Ukraine doesn't become property of Russia. That is the goal. The goal is that to prevent Russia from going to Ukraine to then Poland. That is the goal. And listen, you know, Chairman Jordan knows that, but he's got a problem within his caucus because he's got a growing number, not 1 or 10 or 20. He has 100 members that don't want to vote for Ukraine funding. But let's be clear, we're going to have a vote on Ukraine funding because there are enough Democrats and there are enough Republicans to do what's called a discharge petition. And if you get 218 on the discharge petition, we will be voting on that issue.
Very quickly, you served with Matt Gaetz for years, both in Congress and the Florida state legislature. Have you been in touch with him lately?
Yeah, I talked to Matt on the floor.
And what's your take on all this? And what's your take on whether or not he's afraid of being kicked out of the Republican conference, as you've just heard Congressman Miller talking about?
Well, look, you know, Max is a friend. I heard his perspective. That's an internal Republican matter, right? That's the Republican conference. They got to make that decision whether or not they want to remove a member who removed their speaker. So I'm not going to weigh into their internal discussions because, quite frankly, I don't know what's happening in their caucus because I'm not invited to their meetings. But this was all predictable, Jake.
Yep.
When they made this deal with Matt Gaetz and every single solitary Republican voted for the rule change, every single solitary Democrat voted against the rule change. That was to give one member the ability to make this motion. Every Democrat voted against that. Every Republican voted for it. They gave Matt the weapon. They built it for him, gave it to him for Matt eventually to use this. And everything that happened was well known before then. Matt held up the speaker's vote for 15 rounds. They thought he was never going to use this. So this was inevitable. This is something that was talked about. It was whispered about. When is Matt going to do this? What is he going to be able to find the votes? And look, no one should be celebrating. This is a terrible moment in the history of the U.S. House of Representatives, and our institutions are in peril. Yeah. But it's not because of Democrats. It's because Republicans gave their MAGA wing, the Donald Trump wing of the House of Representatives, this tool.
It'll be interesting what Democrats do in terms of whether or not you exact concessions from Republicans who want to get rid of that motion to vacate. Democratic Representative Jared Moskowitz of Florida, good to see you. Thanks so much.